Hi there, my name is Darlene Childress, and I'm a parenting coach and the founder of The Parenting Path. Today, I want to talk to you about why it's so hard to let our kids make mistakes. Essentially, I've come up with four main reasons that I've seen in my coaching of what prevents parents from letting their kids make mistakes. The first one is discomfort with our kids' discomfort. So if we feel uncomfortable with how mistakes make our kids feel, then it's going to be really hard for us to let them make mistakes. We all know that mistakes make us feel sad, frustrated, annoyed, angry. When we make mistakes, it can be really hard. And so if it's hard for you to watch your kids be uncomfortable, if it's uncomfortable for you, then you are going to do a lot to prevent that from happening. You're going to do rescuing behavior to prevent your kids from experiencing mistakes. The second reason why it's hard for parents to let their kids make mistakes is when we are afraid that our kids aren't going to reach their potential. When we look at our child and we think, oh, they're failing right now, they're not going to make it, to reach their whole potential, then we tend to intervene a lot because we want to guide them towards what we think is their full potential. And so when we have this fear of the future for them and in their potential, we tend to intervene. And when we intervene, what we're actually doing is we are creating situations that do prevent our kids from reaching their potential, because making mistakes and fixing them is pretty much how we reach our potential in life. The third reason why it's hard for parents to let their kids make mistakes is what I'm calling a scarcity belief. If you have this belief that there are limited amounts of resources available to your children in the future, if there are a limited number of jobs, a limited number of scholarships, a limited number of college spots, a limited number of places on a sports team, if you have this idea that there's not enough to go around, then it's going to be really hard for you to let your kids make a mistake, because we think, well, if they make a mistake, they're not going to get that spot. This is especially true when it comes to academics or sports. So it can start even as young as elementary school. Like, you need to do your homework so that you can pass that test, so you can get in the right math class, so that you can take the best classes in high school, so that you can get into the best colleges, so that you can get the best jobs. And what we end up doing is we think, well, if they start failing, third grade math, they're not going to reach their potential. They're not going to have access to those spots when they're grown. So we better make sure that they don't fail now. We think failure now means failure in the future. And so we prevent our kids from making mistakes right now. The fourth reason why it's really hard for parents to let their kids make mistakes is when we believe that our kids don't have good judgment. When we don't trust our kids' thinking, we end up doing the thinking for them. If we think that our kids are going to make bad decisions, then there's this part of us that's like, well, I better make the decisions for them. And what happens is we become very controlling because we're afraid that our kids aren't smart enough or aren't wise enough. And the truth is, kids aren't smart, kids aren't wise. But the way they learn wisdom, the way they learn how to make good decisions is by making bad ones and recognizing the consequences of those mistakes. And so learning to trust your kids is really the process of letting them make mistakes. So the more that you can trust your children now, let them make mistakes, the more confidence they will have that they can overcome mistakes in the future, and they will end up being more successful. This is a very tricky thing to do in parenting because we really do feel scarcity. We really do feel uncomfortable when our kids are upset. We really don't think they can make really wise decisions. And we really are afraid they aren't going to reach their potential. But when we can kind of get past some of those feelings or thoughts that we have that prevent us from letting our kids make mistakes, and we just let them make mistakes, what ends up happening is our kids grow in their confidence. They grow in their ability to think. They grow in their ability to take responsibility. Your job as a parent is to provide opportunities for failure. Your job is to say, yeah, you made a mistake. Now, what are you going to do to fix it? And be the supportive person that comes alongside of them and helps them make the mistake right. That's where resilience comes in. Being able to overcome mistakes is really the best predictor of success in life. So if you want your kids to get those slots, if you want your kids to reach their potential, if you want them to be comfortable with discomfort, if you want them to be able to make good decisions, then let them start making decisions now. Let them start failing. I know it's hard. You don't have to do it alone. Reach out to me. I'm here for you. And let's work on this together. I'm Darlene Childress, and I'll talk to you next time.